Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Happy Friday to you, Seth Harp on Sports. We call him the Assassin, JC. Sitting shotgun on this journey, this car ride today. Hope everybody has had a great week. Looking forward to what may be an SEC championship weekend. Of course, PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Myself, JC, courtesy of, where are we coming from today? Well, Titan MRI Hotline, of course. Have a question? Fire away. Also, Facebook Live, courtesy of Meldon Law, the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. So, what do we know? More late night drama from, it's Hoover, right? People say Birmingham, but it's technically Hoover, as the Gators take care of business. JC, well, first of all, good to be with you again. It's been way too long. I am so, this week, to me, as a competitive, red-blooded American male, just like yourself.
That's right.
I can't tell you at the beginning of the week how disgusted, how embarrassed, how just filthy I felt listening to people call the tailgate with Pat Dooley and Jeff Cardozo and Steve Russell's Sports Scene on the station that I'm operations manager at, talking about how the Gators should lose on purpose and punt in the SEC baseball tournament so they could get the pitching staff and everybody set up for games that were 13 days away. Kevin O'Sullivan, I'm so glad that Sully said there's no way in hell we're doing this. We're going there to win. The mentality of winners, and these kids are winners. They're the SEC regular season champs. They've got their sights set now on winning the SEC postseason tournament. I'm so glad Kevin O'Sullivan is a winner, and he's going there to win and not trying to do this thing where I couldn't believe what I was hearing when you have the best team, JC, that they've had since 2017, and people wanted to fold with a pair of aces in a game of poker.
I don't understand that mindset. I would never think of it that way. I think it's always important to improve your positioning because even though the SEC tournament is not the end goal for this group, it will position them better if they're successful. Meaning, you want to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 seed going into the postseason. I think we've declared pretty much that at least 4 SEC teams, Seth, will likely be a top 8 seed, and 8 SEC teams will likely be in the top 16, meaning that 8 SEC teams will likely host, including the 4 in the top 8, along with 4 others that will host a regional. The top 8 gives you a super regional if you win your regional. It is vital to play at home, in my opinion, and I think Florida can win anywhere, but I think it just gives them a better opportunity to move higher and higher up the poll and be one of the top 2 or 3 seeds. If they are that team, then they always should work out in their favor in terms of the longer they play, the better pairing they would get as a higher seed. So beating Alabama in the 9th inning was dramatic, 11th inning, was dramatic with BT Riopel. Yesterday, a grand slam, 2 home runs against Vanderbilt. Unbelievable. The guy's taken over the SEC tournament. He's the MVP thus far. And right now, Florida is in the catbird seat to possibly win this tournament and position themselves as either a 1 or 2 seed overall. If they are a 1 or 2 seed overall, Seth, then they will have the advantages, in my opinion, when it comes to teams that they would play against should they get through the regional and super regional once they get to Omaha. It's all part of a plan, and it's important. And like you said, there's plenty of time to get those pitchers ready to go for the regional. And they'll play a team that they would likely beat with their eyes closed in the first game of the regular regional anyway. So I just like the idea that you don't go up there and ham and egg it. You go up there to try to win.
Hey, fighters fight and winners win. And
That's right.
trying to get the number one overall seed, it's important, right? And
It is.
think about this. It's like you're going to play what? The 16th seed then in the super regional is the mindset there. So who knows who that could end up being? But this whole thing of if you'd have punted, JC, if they did, okay, let's first of all, the logistics of it are ridiculous. All right, let's say you lose on. Okay, we're gonna throw our 4 and our 5, and we're gonna get beat right away. Okay, fine. Now you're talking about being the 4 or 5 seed, maybe the 6 seed, and all of a sudden you now go into the postseason losing. You've got Kaggs, who's red hot on the mound, and he's pitching right Saturday.
Yes.
And there's so many facets that come to this. And
right,
if they'd have lost on purpose or said we're not going to try, we're not going to start our guys. Okay, fine.
That's just not an option. You don't play baseball or sports to try to dog it out there, and just so you think you're going to be better off later. Ole Miss won it last year as the last team picked or something like that in the overall tournament. And it's because they got hot. So certainly you want to be the team that gets hot, regardless of where you're seated. But you always want to improve your positioning to make it easier to potentially get hot by being in a comfortable position. And to me, I just don't know why anybody would think otherwise. So listen, they're going to play either Alabama or Vandy or somebody tomorrow. And then we just have to win one time to get to the final game. So 2 more wins, and off we go to a 1 or 2 seed, likely a 1 seed, because the SEC is clearly the dominant conference. So you win that conference regular season, you win that conference tournament, no question in my mind, you'll be the number 1 seed in baseball. You will get the advantages of all the seedings as you continue to play. And so does that mean you're going to win? No, but it does mean that you have improved your odds, so to speak. So I think you're right. This is what has to happen to keep the momentum going and to have a ton of confidence going in there and getting ready to dominate in the postseason at home, over here, 8,000 fans. It's going to be fabulous.
Well, and it's also one of these things, too, that I look at this, and this will be my last thing on this, that, if you'd have gone in here and I heard, well, you start your 4 or 5, JC, the first 2 games, and if you get beat, you get beat, and then it's over, and then you can get ready for the regional.
It's not getting ready, though.
In that mindset, if you do that, say you do that, then you could put yourself in a position that Jack Caglione could be pitching in a regional, in an elimination game, and not having pitched, JC, in 15 days if you'd have punted. Your rotation, what'd you have? You had Waldrop, you had Sproat, and now Caglione's going to pitch, so you kept a normal regular weekend. I'm so happy.
So did you really get a lot of calls? I mean, did they?
Oh,
really
yes.
Seriously, was that? I didn't listen, but majority. I have to know.
Majority.
Did people really call in and say this?
The majority. This is what it was like. Well, I think we should not really worry about the SEC tournament. Majority, 70%. Let's not worry about the SEC tournament. And then you hear this mindset, and these 2 things aren't mutually inclusive, JC, that, well, I'd rather win the national championship than the SEC. It's
that's true, but what does that have to do with – right. I mean, no shit. I would too. But does that have anything to do with playing like a dog in Birmingham? I mean, you got to go out there and win baseball games. Look, I know that the SEC is not the end goal. It's not. But what are you going to do? You have to play, right? Yeah. So you go out there and win. I mean, just win. Keep that mind.
I see things like Tony writing and says, Wake can have the number 1 national seed. The number 1 national seed hasn't won since 99. Just because everybody else is a bunch of losers doesn't mean I'm going to be a loser.
Well, okay, but Tony knows better than to say that that's going to be a trend that always continues. It has nothing to do with this season. It's like you said, this is the best team we've had since 2017. It's clear to me. And when they're playing at home with that short porch out there and all these bombers we have, are you going to tell me that that's not an advantage? Of course it is. So you get a top 8 seed, likely the 1 seed. Let's say you went through that. We've already said this. So I'm going to repeat myself. But if you go through the super regional as the 1 seed, when you get to Omaha, you are playing an 8 or the lowest seed, let's say. And they will seed that team as the lowest team. And you will play them in your first game. That's what you want. I know that at some point it just doesn't matter who you play, great, but just put yourself in position and keep, like you say, keep that brain working so that this becomes habitual and we expect to win whether we're down 6-2 in the 8th or we're up 7-1 in the 1st. You just keep that going.
Well, and it's funny because, I've also heard this thing is like, well, this doesn't matter. All that matters is winning the championship. That's all that matters. Okay.
Well,
Then this fall, when at the end of the first quarter, or during a commercial break, when they trot out a Florida Gator sports team, congratulations, it's the 20th anniversary of this SEC championship. I want you all to boo then, because that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When
BT hit that 3-run homer to beat Alabama, you saw those kids. They didn't just come out. They just didn't go out and shake each other's hands. It mattered. They all met at home plate and they hopped around and jumped around each other and ripped his shirt off. You don't think they care? Come on. So everybody knows that we're right on this subject. So let's just go with that. And anybody who calls in and says otherwise should be scolded.
Yeah, you know who wants to lose, JC? Losers. All right, PodUp with Matthews in the morning, a courtesy of Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Okay, we have that. Let's see, what do you want to do next here? I mean, you want to stick with the Gators golf? I
just wanted to mention that today out at Greyhawk, which is a beautiful place in Scottsdale, Arizona, the men's golf team is playing, and they're trying to play for a national championship. And they've got Fred Biondi, they've got players press, they've got guys who are capable of tearing that course up. It's a desert course that I think if you just hit it in the fairway, birdies can fly everywhere, and everybody's going to be a good player when they're as they play, because everybody who gets there is really good. But I think Florida can really exploit this course and destroy it. And I watched the women play there. I looked at the layout. I looked at the course. They'll make it tougher for the guys. But the fact is that this course is there for the taking. Florida will have a great chance. And coming from 5 strokes back to qualify in the regionals to get to Arizona, I think is something that they have to feed on to improve their chances, perhaps, and maybe be a threat to win this thing. Who knows? It's anything. It's golf. So I'm excited about the men's golf. I know we don't get a lot of play on this, but for us golfers, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and look, it's one of these things too where you talk about a program making progress. Yeah. You talk about a program that, and you're right, you get there and you put yourself in a position, you get a couple lucky breaks, and
make a few putts. Yeah, I mean that's it.
Get yourself a puncher's chance, and this as well as I do, JC. You get a tournament like that, and you get off to a good start, and then weather hits, and then the conditions change, and we've seen that. I mean, so yeah, I agree with you totally. It's one of these things that when you get there, look, are they the best team in the field? No,
not right now on paper, but they don't play it on paper. And if some guys start getting hot with the putter, I think that's how you win these deals.
Yes.
Because in the desert, you're just dealing with hot weather basically, and maybe some wind.
Yeah.
But I think if the putter gets rolling, it's anybody's match. The point is that they qualified to get there. They are there, and if they putt better than the other guys, they'll win. And so that's how it works in golf, and it could go either way. And I'm just excited for JC Deacon and those guys, because it's been a while for the golf team, and here they are once again. So I think it's exciting, and that's something I'm going to pay attention to this weekend, over the weekend, as well as the baseball. So it's important. I think we've got a lot going on. Seth, I was going to ask you also. I'm glad you're here, because earlier in this week, Shannon and I talked about the Florida schedule and how ESPN in football ESPN ranked them the 3rd hardest schedule. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Do you really think? I mean, Shannon and I don't look at it that way, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do they come up with the 3rd hardest schedule? The only thing I can come up with is the 2 out-of-conference teams that they play in Florida State and Utah, right? Utah being on the road, and then, of course, adding LSU on the road, Georgia, wherever, and then, Tennessee at home, of course. But, man, 3rd hardest is that's interesting to me.
What it shows you is how weak other teams' schedules are.
Georgia's ridiculous. Yeah, Georgia's is ridiculous.
I can't wait for the conference slate. I can't wait for it. And you're right. The road games, you got Florida State. Look, let's face it. Florida could end up having 2 road games against 2 top 10.
I certainly think LSU is going to be a threat for that. Utah is, they say, a 9-point favorite. We don't even know about their quarterback. But the thing that's interesting also, Seth, is that soon the SEC folks are going to meet and they're going to vote on this scheduling for 2024. It's whether or not to go to 9 games or how they're going to do the SEC once Oklahoma and Texas join us next season. So I find that's another thing to keep your eye on coming up here real shortly.
Yeah. As they have all these meetings, yeah. He's JC. I am Seth Harp. This is PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Got questions for us? Fire away. Courtesy of Facebook Live, Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And JC and I, of course, joining you courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline. And let's couple things. Al Horford let's continue with the Gators. Al Horford's Boston. I know they're more like Jason Tatum's Boston Celtics, but Al Horford and company, his career, it lives to see another day.
That's right.
He's not what he was, but he contributes. And the fact that here they are going down to Miami for a game 6 when everybody left him for dead. JC, you're a betting man. Look at that house. You paid for all those winnings, those Vegas winnings.
Well,
what happened?
Well, listen, man, this is game 6, but to me, it's for Miami. It's game 7.
Okay.
And obviously for Boston, it's game 7 too. There's no tomorrow if you don't win. But we all know where the momentum has shifted in this series. And if they do a game 7 in Boston, who's going to bet against the Celtics in the Garden? Because Magic Johnson and the Lakers are not showing up. So you don't bet against that team in a game 7 up in Boston. So Miami knows that the pressure might be starting to really shift toward them, but they still have a chance to close it out in game 6 at home. They've got a great team. And if Butler gets 40, yeah, I see that happening for Miami, but I see Denver basically just sitting in the waiting wings, ready to win this whole damn thing. So
Denver has the one guy.
Oh my God.
Denver got the one guy in this sport that when he is on, you lose.
The Joker. The Joker is he's sweeping the Lakers. Wow.
I mean, when there's certain guys like there's a couple guys like that. When Pedro Martinez back in the day was on, you lose.
Yeah.
When Greg Maddux was on, you lose. I give baseball examples. Of course, Jordan, Kareem, LeBron there for a while, but Kobe. But it's this postseason. If he is on, Patrick Mahomes, when they're on, you lose. You get beat.
Yeah,
and that's where they are. So no, and it's one of these things too, JC. I think it's fascinating because we can finally end the talk that the NBA is rigged, can't we? Because on what planet would it make sense to have the Nuggets sweep the Lakers?
I mean, I don't know if the TV guys really wanted Denver and Miami.
No, absolutely not.
But the TV guys were thinking, hey, we could get Boston, LA, Park, whatever. And that's obviously not going to happen. But Boston does care. They're a historic franchise, obviously. And so I think most people would be interested in watching them play Denver. But, they'll still got to win 2 more games. And it's tough. And so, I give them credit for not getting swept. I give the Dallas Stars last night credit for not getting swept. And I think it's, it speaks a lot for these guys that are, trying to get back in this thing. We got a series now, and we didn't have a series before. There goes Sam. Toto's yelling at Sam. There she goes.
Don't give him hell, Sam.
Give him hell. No, that's Toto. Toto, it's just Sam, for God's sakes. It's the crazy-ass dog at mine.
Well, that's good.
Anyway, yeah. By the way, Seth, you're not here, but I'm going to I got a bone to pick with the QB, but since he's not here, I'll wait till Monday, assuming we do a show on Monday. He's telling everybody in the world on the World Wide Web that my golf game doesn't travel. Obviously, that is such fake news. You don't care. I'll wait till he gets back on Monday. But I've got him in my sights right now.
Well, I smell. How about this? We'll air it live on Facebook. You and he, 18 holes.
I'm going to bury him with facts. And that's the thing. Sometimes he doesn't like the facts of life, but he gets it. So we'll see. I'm coming after him on Monday, though. I can tell you that.
I smell a Seinfeld bet coming there where the loser has to be the other one's butler. I think that'd be good. Yeah, chauffeur for a week, driving each other around.
I can't get the guy out of the damn house, though. I mean, if he had to come over here and drive a whopping 10 minutes to get here and be my butler for a day, that's going to be like an act of Congress to get him to leave the house. But we'll do our best. Well,
they're not in session right now, are they? So that may work. PodUp with Matthews in the morning, courtesy of Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. This is
Yes.
Peachland Dentistry, JC, and the QB weekend picks.
Yeah.
I did see our PGA darling is dead last right now.
Oh, who's our PGA darling?
I can't remember what his name is. That shows you how quickly fleeting things.
Oh, Block, Michael Block.
Yeah.
Michael Block. Yeah, listen, that's a great story, but anybody who thinks that's going to hold on, he's 48? Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great story, but forget it. I mean, he can't play with these guys.
No, it's a different world. And you're a golf guy. I was so glad that Brooks Koepka won. I'm not one of these guys that gets mad at guys because of where they went to college. And just because the fact he's got 5 majors now, JC.
Yeah.
Is he going to get to Tiger's 15, or is he going to get to
I'm not.
No, but he can get to 10.
I think he can get to Watson's 8 for sure, and maybe even 10. But the thing with him was his career was teetering on the brink with that knee injury, and he was able to get through that, Seth. Mm-hmm. And the thing is also is that I think part of him, and I don't know this, but I just feel that part of him wishes he didn't go to the Live. But I know that money speaks. But I think prestige and playing with what I consider the best group of golfers in a competitive landscape is the best thing for a golfer. Now, he's still able to do that as a Live golfer playing in these majors against the world's best, but you don't see that on a week-to-week basis, and that's what the PGA Tour is. It's the world's best. So to me, I know he's excited. Listen, his Florida Panthers, that's another great story, Seth, by the way. That Florida Panthers team is the story of the NHL playoffs and the professional postseason, with the way they have come out of literally 8th spot, 48 points behind the Bruins, to beat them in the last minute of a Game 7 in Boston, to then destroy Toronto and to sweep Carolina as a team that was really just mediocre at best during the season. And those folks, the Sunrise, I don't know if you're familiar with Fort Lauderdale and that area down there, but they are absolutely, for the first time ever in this franchise's history, really bubbling over their team. I mean, it's not a team that got a lot of play at all, because it's always Tampa Bay, Lightning, and as well it should be. They've done it. But Florida, this I think it's their year. I think they'll beat Vegas or Dallas, and I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Comments coming in courtesy of Meldon Law. Gene writing in saying, JC, you are the poster child for a retired Florida man who just wants to play golf and lay on the beach.
I'm not retired, Gino, but thank you.
You look well rested, and he can confirm your game does not travel outside of Southwest Gainesville.
Well, Gino hasn't played golf with me in 3 years, which is his choice, by the way. And the point is that, I can give you many places. I'll do this on Monday. This will be a tease. I'll give you golf courses that I've actually won tournaments on more than 6 hours away. Okay. I'll give you examples of that on Monday, but he's crazy. And by the way, he hasn't played golf with me in 3 years because he's chosen not to. And I think I know why. He likes to hold on to his money. But the point is that that's wrong what Shane said. That was fake news. And I'm gonna counteract that on Monday, by God.
Okay. As we wrap this thing up, we're looking forward now. We've got what?
Nobody cares. I know. But
it's good. No. We got Florida, Vandy, or Florida, Bama tomorrow. At 4:30, a game you'll hear on ESPN 98.1 FM 850 AM WR. If they win the SEC, number 1 overall seed?
Oh, 100%. Like what? Who are you gonna put out there in front of the SEC regular season winner, albeit tied with Arkansas, but winner on tiebreaker, and the SEC tournament winner?
Yeah.
You can't look, again, as I said, if you missed it earlier, the SEC will have 4 of the top 8 seeds and 8 of the top 16 seeds in the postseason in baseball out of this here conference, this here one. And Alabama is, I think, the team they're going to play on Saturday, because Alabama will beat Vandy tonight, but I don't know that. I just think that. And they, too, will host a regional, but they won't be a top 8 seed. Florida will be, LSU will be, Arkansas will be, and Texas A&M will all be top 8 seeds. Guaranteed.
All right, let's fast forward really quick here. Let's say they win it all without thinking too much about it. Is it the greatest Gator men's sports team ever if they win the SEC regular season, SEC postseason tournament, and win the College World Series? Greatest Gator sports team ever. Men's, not women's, men's.
No, because I think something brings me back to those to that 08 football team and that 08 maybe that '08 basketball team.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say they aren't in the top 5. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. He is JC. I am Seth Harp. Hey, this went fast.
I mean, well, yeah, that's a half hour. There you go. I mean, how long are we doing this for this morning?
Well, Kyle Crooks is coming in next.
Oh, okay. Kyle Crooks, got it. Okay,
yeah,
well, Seth, man, it has been great to talk to you, and I appreciate you stepping in on the last minute, and we will, we'll see you again soon, and have a great Memorial Day, brother. It's a big weekend for us. Remember the troops, Memorial Day.
Absolutely, and that's one of those things that it's honor, respect. People gave up everything so we can have everything.
Everything. Gave up everything. Yep.
So good stuff. All right, Kyle Crooks waiting in the wings. Oh, the Celtics? Are we going to have a Game 7?
I think we're going to Game 7. Yeah, I do.
All right.
I do.
There you go. All right, I can't wait to watch you and Shane on the golf course in this battle for humanity.
He's giving everybody fake news. I'm coming at him on Monday if we have a show. I think we're having a show on Monday. So
if not, if you don't want to do that, let's do it at a putt course.
Okay, bro. Thanks, Seth.
That's JC, Seth Harp, Kyle Crooks waiting in the wings. This is PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Well, let's just roll on. Kyle Crooks, voice of Gators women's athletics and also men's athletics, depending on what sporting events going on. Got a lot to talk with Kyle about, including now that it looks like Florida, Georgia back on in Jacksonville, 24-25. What does that mean for stadium renovations in Gainesville? One of the questions we'll ask Kyle Crooks next. Seth Harp in for Shane Matthews here on this Friday with PodUp with Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Continuing to roll along on this Friday, Seth Harp, Harp on Sports. He is Kyle Crooks with you here the second half of this edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Of course, courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline, both of us. And on top of that, any Facebook questions you have for us, fire away, courtesy of Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. All right, Kyle. I know you want to talk about little Gator baseball as well. We'll pivot into that. But one of the things I wanted to start off with you, first of all, welcome in. As always, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
We find out that, and I'll say this surprised me. It did, that Florida Georgia will continue in Jacksonville after this season. The option for 24 and 25 kicks in, or they both picked it up. So the next 3 games will stay in Jacksonville, which is a good thing. What that tells me is the renovation in Jacksonville is not going to start until 27 at the earliest. I've been, it's funny because I was going back and forth with some Jaguar fans and some Georgia and Gator fans, and they'll play through the renovations. If you think these two schools are going to go play in a reduced capacity Jacksonville Stadium of 50,000 fans when you have to bring in 15,000 bleachers for the game right now, there's no way. So that's fine. All that stuff. Okay, the renovations are going to be down the road. Okay. One for me, Kyle. I'm glad that it's staying in Jacksonville at least for the next few years here. Now, when we get to 27, we can discuss that in a minute, because and I know Kirby and recruiting and having it on campus for 2 years, I think that would be fine. But I think if you take it off or take it out of Jacksonville, it just turns into Florida LSU or Florida Tennessee. Nice games, rivalry games, but not elite special games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that it isn't switching to campuses over the next couple of, I'm surprised that Georgia maybe agreed to it. I understand that Kirby Smart has been the biggest voice in all of this, that it's a recruiting disadvantage for him, and he wants those weekends when he can get them in Athens. So I'm a little bit surprised, and it's a good point you bring up. Maybe it means that the renovations for the stadium now are a little bit delayed. I'm interested to see I know that Shad Khan's been trying to build up Jacksonville for years now, what the next step of that looks like, right? So, it's one of and I've been to that game probably 3 or 4 times now. It's special. It's unique. Like you mentioned, Florida, Tennessee, or Florida, LSU, they're special, but, there's nothing quite like that, specifically Florida, Georgia. And there's certain neutral site games there. I think I saw Penn State, Michigan State is going to move from campus and they're going to play a neutral site at Ford Field in Detroit. That does nothing for me, right? It's the indoor dome. I'd rather see that game at Michigan State or Penn State. But this game, the red and black, the orange and blue, split down the middle. You got the flyover in Jacksonville. Both fan bases coming from both sides, and man, it is a special, unique atmosphere, unlike anything that I've ever experienced in my sports fandom life. Being able to go to those games, I'm happy that it's staying here. Do I think that 10 years down the road that's going to change, and eventually we do go back to, or we do have campus sites? I know they did it a couple of years, I think in the 90s, back to back in the mid 90s. Do we eventually go back to that? Probably, because I think maybe Georgia wins out in terms of the recruiting noise, that the fact that they want it back there. But it is special. I'm glad it's staying there for a couple of years.
So now I look at it from the perspective of Florida now, because, with Jacksonville and renovations and leaving the stadium for 2 years, that's not going to happen. You're not going to abandon a city for 2 years while they renovate. But all of a sudden, if we're looking at renovations in Jacksonville not taking place till 27, Scott Strickland, has made it known that they want to renovate the Swamp to some extent. Now, what does that look like? Don't know. And everybody that's been around has heard the stories of, a new stadium on the golf course, and that's been floated out there as well, if that was possible. I look at it now, Kyle, as okay, this decision to stay in Jacksonville, does that speed up the process then of renovating the Swamp and building a new football stadium here in Gainesville?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a renovation. I know that Scott Strickland, I think he was on probably your station months ago when he said it's going to be a significant financial deal in terms of the renovation. I hadn't heard anything about a new stadium. Who knows? I mean, you're probably more plugged in that aspect than I might be, but I think it's going to be eventually a significant renovation for the Swamp, hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. And that's what it's going to be. And look, I think the one thing that when you look at Scott Strickland's tenure, he's been very good at the renovation side of it.
Yes.
Baseball needed a massive overhaul. McKeithen was old. KSP for softball, that was about a $15 million renovation. That is a really good ballpark now, as opposed to what it used to be, especially selfishly from a press box side of things. But also a fan side of things in terms of creating shade and a 360 environment where you can walk around the ballpark and create experiences. He's done a good job in that aspect. In terms of the ballparks now becoming experiences, and then the football building, the Heavener building, which is a game changer for Florida because they were behind in that aspect, and it's something where all sports can utilize that in a recruiting pitch. But now I think that the final domino to fall will eventually be the Swamp. I mean, you've been to games in that building. I've only seen it from the standpoint of where I'm going up to the press box and watching it from that vantage point. But on a hot summer day, to sit on the bleachers, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask. Stand on the lines for concession stands. There's going to be a lot of things that need to be done to the Swamp. Will be, and I'm excited to see 5-7 years down the line how far advanced we come in terms of the renovations for that.
Yeah, and you wonder too with this is getting those done before this series wraps up in Jacksonville or these next 3 years, getting that done. So that way, when Jacksonville is renovating, you feel more comfortable having, the
How about the Jags coming to Gainesville, Seth?
Yeah, well, that's one of those things too, where,
Eventually one day, maybe.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, look, if you're looking at it from the Jaguars standpoint, there's two ways to look at it, or there's actually three ways to look at it. Do you want to be the regional team of North Florida? Well, then you should do 2 games in Tallahassee, 2 games in Orlando, 2 games in Gainesville, and 2 games in London. Do you want to be? You want to keep your fan base, your local fan base in Jacksonville happy? All right, 6 games in Gainesville and 2 games in London.
Yeah,
those are your options. This whole thing, well, they could just play at UNF. They're not playing at UNF.
I heard that. How would that even work?
Well, you'd have to invest $100 million in the stadium to bring it up, that venue there, to bring it up to NFL spec codes. $100 million.
Why would you do that when you can just go down the road and?
It's just ridiculous. It's one of those things.
It would be unique and special, but for like those around UNF, I mean, that would be incredible. But I saw that. And how is that even a feasible option?
I don't know, man. No, it's not even been brought up. But Kyle, if we're talking about massive renovations at the Swamp, then does Florida get to go to Jacksonville then for a season? Is that a or are we? Because when we're talking about the Jaguars, they're talking about gutting that thing, and to the point where we're going to gut it and start all over, tear it all down, and we're just going to leave the foundation and build up. It's like, that's ridiculous, and just build a new stadium if you're going to do that. But if this is one of these things where this is a major, major, major renovation in Gainesville coming up here with the Swamp, does that mean that I don't vision, Kyle, that this team would leave here to go to Jacksonville for a year to play its games? I don't know if that would even work. But without seeing the specs or the plans, and another thing is too, you get a lot more construction done here with how empty that thing stays. Because let's face it, you get an extra month of construction, right? Because in December you can start. Yeah. And you've got until when? You got until September. Where the NFL, there's the possibility that Jags could play into late January, especially now, and then you have preseason and monster truck shows and all that fun stuff. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this lays out. I just saw with that extension the other day, I'm like, okay, well, this gives us a little timeline here with what's going on there and also what could be taking place here. Kyle Crooks, Seth Harp from Harp on Sports with you here, PodUp with Matthews in the morning, courtesy of QC Kinetics. Joint pain, shoulders, knees, hips, back, won't go away. Check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, no downtime. Schedule your free consultation with QC Kinetics today. Locations in Ocala and now open in Gainesville as well. Gator baseball. Circle back around to that. Good for them. Look, been doing this a long time. Kyle, I'm 43. I've been broadcasting since I was 15. Earlier this week, because, students are in and out now. So I'm sitting there, sometimes producing our shows on our station, answering phone calls for Steve, Jeff, and Pat. I was just blown away with the amount of people that thought that Sully should just start your fourth and fifth in the rotation, get a couple of losses, and get out of Birmingham or get out of Hoover and worry about the regional. And I sit here with that mentality and say, okay, if you do that, then you realize Jack Caglione could be pitching an elimination game without having started or pitched in 15 days. If you're going to do that. I am so glad that Sully is a winner, that these kids, that he went there with that mentality to win, as opposed to tanking and losing on purpose to give your starting pitchers 2 weeks rest. Because we know how awesome that works for the top seeds in Major League Baseball, Kyle, in the postseason when they have 4 days, 5 days, 6 days rest. Let's make it 14 days for these guys that have been playing every single day since February. You're a play-by-play guy. Softball's a little bit different, but baseball, this notion of losing on purpose, to me, Kyle, first of all, it sucks. Second of all, boy, oh boy, you got a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds that are competitive and want to win. I'm so glad Kevin O'Sullivan is playing to win and doesn't fall into that we're going to lose on purpose mentality, because that mentality sucks, and I'm so glad he didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks off for your starting pitching, that wouldn't help anything anyway. You're getting them when you're getting them on their normal turn,
Yes.
work out where you're getting your three pitchers on their normal turn. And there's one thing, there's something to be said about the momentum going into a regional. If you're, 2 and done, which is the case in this tournament, which is they got to stop doing the whole double elimination thing for the SEC baseball tournament. I mean, it is the tournament lasts an eternity. There's something to be said about building that resume. And who knows, Florida, when you look at their postseason resume, right, they are a top 8. There's no doubt about it. But maybe it is the difference between a couple of seeds of where you're playing and where you're ranked come in that selection show. So there are certain things that you could play for, and you want guys to get hot. BT Rypel wasn't necessarily swinging a hot bat going into the SEC tournament. All of a sudden, this guy is dealing with a whole different level of confidence than he had before. Sproat has a good start last night. That guy's going to be feeling good heading into a regional. The bullpen, you want the bullpen to continue to feel good heading into the regional. There's a lot of different things that you could build off of this. And you're playing good teams. You beat Alabama, who's going to be a regional host, even though they don't have a head coach right now. Vanderbilt is, it's incredible to see what Sully's done against Vandy. He's dominated Vanderbilt. I think he's won, I don't know, 6 of the last 8 or something ridiculous like that against the Commodores, who are one of the elite programs in the country. You're not just beating anybody. You're beating some regional hosts right now in the SEC tournament, a chance to win a championship. This is something that BT, who when he's done, he's going to go into finance. The dude's raking right at 3 home runs. He could be the MVP for this team to win a championship. That's what it's all about, Seth. I've been with softball the last 6 or so years, and I've won it twice, I think. Yeah, twice. 18 and 19, back-to-back years. And 18 was a year we didn't need to play well in that tournament. We were locked in to be a very high seed. But you show up, you start to play well, and you say, yeah, we want to beat this other team. We want to beat Tennessee. You're not going to lay down against your conference rivals. So, good for Florida. They're playing well right now. They're pitching it well. They're swinging it well. They're beating really good teams, and that's going to be nothing but positive heading into a regional.
I'm just like, it's one of these things, Kyle, that this team, since winning the national championship, in 2018, they get back to Omaha and it falls apart. 2019 doesn't happen. 2020, you get canceled, COVID. 21 expectations through the roof, Yeah, it could be the greatest Gators. They may only lose 5 games all year. It's like, oh God. And then, completely, deuce the bed. What, South Alabama? Was that South Alabama that won?
Yeah, and USF, they just
Oh
tough regional.
And then last year, have the lead against Oklahoma late and you get beat. So there's no guarantees past this. And I brought this up with JC earlier. You can go to any Gator football game. What do they do during timeouts? Well, it's the 20th anniversary of this, Gators SEC championship team, and everybody stands up and claps and everybody cheers for them. And I know in the moment you get hurt sometimes when you get beat and you don't win a championship, but I've never seen anybody boo any team that gets honored at the end of those quarter breaks during football on anniversary day. So it's just one of these things that if they don't go on to win the College World Series, say they finish second, say they lose in the championship series. Well, having an SEC regular season title and an SEC postseason title and losing in Omaha in the finals, it looked like we had a good year. We had a great year. We just came up short. But we're SEC champions. At least we have something. You go out there and it doesn't matter. Only championships matter. You're gonna have a lonely life, man.
Yeah, I mean, and the years get put up on the walls and in the stadium, and they are forever. Those years. I mean, when you go to KDC Show Presley Stadium, every SEC championship is pasted on the outfield wall, and every just appearance in the World Series is pasted on the wall. Like you can't take, and especially the way that like you mentioned, the regional losses the last couple of years, you can't take anything for granted, and you gotta love the fact that this team has shown up to Hoover where it's easy to not be 100% invested with rain delays, playing really late at night, long days in the hotel. And this is fun to watch. This is why you're a fan. So I don't know why you would want anything other than, putting everything into it as a fan and seeing them win a championship.
Be interesting to see what happens if Cags and company can win on Saturday, because now you'll have Alabama or Vandy, whoever wins tonight, you'll have them on Saturday, and they'll have gone through another guy in the rotation. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays itself out on Saturday. You go out, you compete. If you win, you win. Compete, you lose. That's life. So
Right.
It's just good for them. I'm just glad that I'm glad I didn't fold like a 10. I just was shocked to hear that stuff all week long. It was ridiculous. PodUp with Matthews in the morning, courtesy of Ruse Ogre State Farm. Dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go in the right direction with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com or give them a call, 352-240-1779. That's 352-240-1779. Okay. Al Horford and the Boston Celtics live to fight another day.
They do.
Take care of business against Miami. Okay, Kyle. First of all, I don't like to do two-part questions, but let's do this first. Where would this rank? And we have the Red Sox coming back down 3-0 against the Yankees. This team was left for dead. They were done. It was over. It's another Boston team. We've seen teams come back from 3-0 in the NBA, but not in the conference finals. We have seen teams come back from 3-0 in hockey, but not in the Stanley Cup or the conference finals. We've never had anybody come back from 3-0 in a championship series. So what likelihood are you giving this now where Game 6 hits to Miami that the Celtics can get this done?
It's funny because I was on the road trip for the regional with our buddy Sky LeBron, who's a giant Heat fan. And I was going to text him last night. I got to text him at some point because we were watching all the games together. And, he was saying how big Game 3 was. If we let the Celtics take Game 3, all of a sudden it's 2-1. It's a different series. We take Game 3, it's over. It's done. And you heard the way Barkley and all of them were talking after Game 3. It's Game 1, that was a tough loss for the Celtics, but the blowout in Game 3, that's where you look like, okay, this Celtics team is done. They are not invested at all. And I lived through the Red Sox comeback over the Yankees. I grew up in northern New Jersey. I'm a Yankees fan. It's very similar, Seth.
Yes.
It was a 19-8 Yankees win, blew them out on their home field in Game 3, and then all of a sudden, Game 4, they win. They had a couple of walk-off wins, and then eventually went on to win in Game 7. But Boston blows them out in Game 4, blows them out last night. This is, I think, the Game 7 for Miami, which is Game 6. You got to win on your home floor. You cannot let that series head back to Boston for a game 7, or I think it's going to be big time trouble. Heat are dealing with some injuries right now. Game 6, this is everything. Jimmy Butler, who's been so good throughout this postseason, Adebayo has been so good throughout this postseason. They got to find a way to have a big game and close them out in Miami, or else it is going to be the first time in a conference finals that anybody's come from 3-0 down. It is. And it's crazy how the narrative changed after game 4. I feel like everybody after game 3 was saying that, oh, this is curtains, this is wrap, it's going to be a sweep. And then they win one game in blowout fashion. All of a sudden, everything turns. It's like, well, you know what? The Celtics can do this, which they can. They have a better roster than the Heat. They have a star in Jason Tatum who's been lights out in elimination games. I don't know what it's. Before elimination games, Jason Tatum in this series, it seems like he's been pedestrian. Then all of a sudden, it's your season's on the line, and he's played a whole different level. It's going to be. I would give the Heat. I would pick the Heat to win Game 6, but if they don't, it's going to be tough to win that, to close out the series for the Heat in Game 7 on the road.
All right, so there's superstitious people plug their ear. No, so I'll ask you this: does it matter? Is either of these teams beating Denver?
No. They're a well-oiled machine. They play with each other the last couple of years. Jokic is the best player in the NBA, most dominant player in the NBA. No, it doesn't matter. Who's the better matchup? Boston. I would think Boston's probably the better matchup. Could I see that series with either one going 6, maybe 7, maybe? But I don't see anybody beating Denver. No.
You know what's funny about this is that if Miami does win, then we can pretty much end the narrative that this NBA is rigged. It's rigged. It's rigged. Because yes, the NBA wants the Heat and the Nuggets in the NBA Finals as opposed to the Celtics and the Lakers.
They would have found a way to get LeBron through.
It's rigged for LeBron. Doesn't he have like twice as many losses in the finals as wins? So okay, fine, whatever. But I just think this is fascinating. It's also, well, I'm glad. This is what you get out of people too, right? It's like, well, I'm glad the Celtics and Lakers aren't there. I'm glad. And then the ratings will be the lowest they've been in 15 years. And then look, it doesn't matter what you may hate teams, but if a villain dies in the first 5 minutes of a movie, it doesn't matter. What do you watch the rest of the movie for? Darth Vader's dead. All right. The rest of the movie is going to fly around in spaceships. Right? Come on. We got to have a little zip. I'm glad, I mean, from at least Florida Gators fans' perspective, I'm glad that Al Horford may get another crack at this. But it's also one of these things that at this point, I don't, if it's Miami or Boston, I agree with you. Jokic is one of these guys that when he's on, you lose.
And he just beats you in so many different ways. The way he facilitates as a big man, he can do so many things well around the rim. The old story is he was drafted during a McDonald's commercial, during the draft. It's one of those moments where you just see his name on the bottom and it's during a commercial. And nobody thought he would turn into this, and he is just dominant. He's just dominant. And they've asked LeBron, like, is anything surprised you about him? He's like, no, we know how great that dude is. So Jamal Murray's outstanding. Michael Porter is a great piece. Like, they're very well balanced. And Denver, while not the sexiest team in the playoffs coming in, they're the best team. And most times it doesn't happen where it goes chalk, but I think this year the best team's going to win.
Yeah, and one more thing on this is that, you watch Jokic the other night, and what's he do, Kyle? On one possession, he does a reverse layup as a 7'1" big man, while two guys are camping in on him. And then the next position, with 1 second on the shot clock, he hits a fadeaway 3 from the wing. This 7'1" guy out there doing things that 6'5" guards struggle to do, and he's out there doing both of these things. It's one of these things that look, it's not a sexy team. It's not a household name team, but I enjoy watching greatness, when I see somebody that's special and unique, and this is special and unique. And, it's a team that was the 1 seed in the West, and they did what they were supposed to do. It was a team that was in the Western Conference Finals in the bubble a couple years ago. It was a good team last year where they just run into Golden State. I mean, so look, I know that it's not the sexiest matchup in the NBA Finals if we Miami, Denver thing, and I get it, but it's one of these things that the lack of respect that Denver got throughout this thing was pretty remarkable. So,
well, all the conversation during the whole series with LA was LeBron, was the Lakers, there was never any, which I get, right? Because as a producer, as somebody who would run a network, you know what drives ratings, you know what people are interested in, you know what you're going to lead off on first take. It's the Lakers, it's LeBron. Is LeBron going to retire? All of that, as opposed to Denver's going to the NBA Finals. They're an outstanding team. They're probably a shoo-in to win a title. Nobody cares. Sometimes that's how the breaks are in the media world.
And it works that way. And I'll leave you with this. This reminds me of the year when I was in Michigan, right after I graduated college, and the Pistons beat the Lakers. And people were furious because the Lakers were getting all the press. It's like the Pistons won the title, the Lakers didn't lose it. It's like, oh no. The Lakers have the Lakers starting five: Gary Payton, Hall of Famer; Karl Malone, Hall of Famer; Shaq, going to be a Hall of Famer; Kobe, This team's got 4 Hall of Famers starting, and they're lucky not to get swept. What went with it? That was the Shaq Kobe breakup, and it's like sometimes the story is the team losing, not the team winning.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that. So there we go. Kyle Crooks, Seth Harp. There we go. Wrapping up this Friday. PodUp with Matthews in the morning. I got to thank Zach for producing and putting things together today. JC also for swinging by. And Kyle, it's always great to do this with you and hang out with you. Appreciate it as always. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again soon. Always great seeing you, Seth.
All right, there we go. Have a good weekend, everybody. Kyle Crooks, Seth Harp, JC. This has been PodUp with Matthews in the morning.